I think more than anything, all of us want to figure out how to get there, how to get to the places that we actually want to go, how to achieve the certain things that we want to achieve, and more than anything, how to be the people we want to become. I think investing ourselves in the future, we sort of lose a lot. I think we must realize that all potential is a present endeavor. Potential can only be reached in the present. And I think it's not about recognizing your potential for future times. I think recently I've been really pushing to myself that the future that I'm thinking of really doesn't exist yet. And the only motive that I really have, or the only opportunity I have in the creation of that future, is always within the present. Is always within my right now, my ability to sort of choose for myself what it is that I want, choose for myself what it is I want to be in the moment. I think we must realize that who we are is a rehearsed thing most of the time. It's a thing that we don't actively give input into. And I think it's really about giving all your input to the now, giving all your input to who you are, giving all your input to what you're doing, giving all your input into everything that you occupy. Not saying spreading yourself thin, but recognizing you already are where you are. And that's the only place you need to be. I think sometimes when we get busy, or when we allow our mind to be so scattered in regards to all of the things that we need to do, we often lose our abilities to sort of occupy the moment with a certain amount of grace. And I think that grace isn't necessarily the absence of things that you need to do, but the presence of yourself within them. I think when we allow ourselves to be present within any of our endeavors, especially all of them, we give ourselves the opportunity to actually be who we are. And being who we are, I feel like, isn't something that needs to be thought of. I feel like a lot of who we are is beyond thought, is beyond anything that we are told. And I think that's the most beautiful aspect of it, is recognizing that no matter what happens, no matter the things that occur in life, that's just life. You get to continue to be you regardless, so long as you allow yourself to be continued. And when I say yourself to be continued, I really just mean our continued growth and development, our continued push towards who we are and who we're actually meant to become. And I think there's a certain openness that we need to have with the life that we live, a certain intimacy that needs to be gathered each and every moment. And it's not necessarily you constantly occupying the moment with stuff. I want to stress that especially because I think a lot of us don't really know how to sit still. We haven't really given ourselves that opportunity and that drive and that, space to really understand that peace is created. It's not a found thing. Peace is not the absence of problems, but you not treating yourself like a problem when you have them. I think it's always about recognizing that the world is really a mirror. A man sees in the world what he carries in his heart. We're constantly seeing that which we are over and over again. We're constantly projecting. And in realizing that a lot of who we are is an addictive thing. Like we get addicted to our current ways of being, addicted to who we currently are. Who we are is currently a commitment that we're making. And I think in realizing that, it's just about committing to something new. Committing to your own happiness, committing to your own potential in the present. And what that looks like to me is recognizing the things you want and saying to yourself, or establishing to yourself, at least in feeling, that is the way things are right now. That's the only way to bridge the gap into the future, is by bringing the future into the now. Recognizing that there is no past self to overcome and no future self to achieve. And when I say there's no past self to overcome, I do not mean that we don't need to change, but recognizing that past change happens in the present. It's about you recognizing what parts of yourself are currently here in the present that need to change. It's not really in reference to past so much as it is in reference to our awareness that certain thing that we have now has been affecting us for a time. And there's no greater time than the present to actually explore any of this potential talk, any of this opportunity talk. Because in a little while, we'll have forgotten everything. And in a little while, everything will have forgotten us. Marcus Aurelius. There is so little time to really do everything that we want. And that's not the point, I think. I think the point isn't really to occupy ourselves with things, but to find ourselves within them. It's not what we encounter, but how we encounter ourselves through things that truly matters, I find. And in talking about that intimacy, because that's been something I've been trying to reach a lot recently, is finding that new intimacy with life. And the thing about finding something like that is it's never really found so much as it is created by you. I think it's always a present look at what is, and whether or not you want to call it beautiful, and whether or not you want to appreciate the beauty that you get to experience within it, is up to you. But I think once you do that, once you accept things as beautiful and accept things as they are in a way, you get a chance to truly experience each day as if it is a new life. Because each day truly is a new life. I think we have to have some sort of intention to be present and reborn each day. Because each day is a new opportunity. A new 24, a new experience, truly. And in saying that we get addicted to ways of being, and at the same time that a man sees in the world what he cares in his heart, or the world is a mirror, we see what we are. It's to say that if we feel like everything is getting too familiar, if we feel like life is not really ebbing and flowing, it's just in this middle state, we're just feeling stagnant, we're feeling like nothing is changing. I think that's only because we feel like nothing is changing. You can look outside and recognize that things are continuing to change. And you can recognize that today is not the same as yesterday. And things have changed in that way too. But the thing that remains in this way, the thing that hasn't changed, that is making us feel like we're stuck, that we're stagnant in this place, is us. It's our own perspective of who we are, our own perspective of our capability, our own perspective of what we think we can achieve in any given moment. And I think the only way to give ourselves to the moment enough to actually learn to love who we are and learn to love everything that we encompass is by being present. And I talk about presence all the time, but I truly think that's really the only thing that is our own presence. It's our own awareness of what is currently here. It's our awareness of our own thoughts, awareness of our own body, our own tiredness, our own feelings, our own mental dispositions, the stuff we are aware of. We are the awareness in a lot of ways. And in positing yourself is that we sort of give ourselves more opportunity in recognizing that life is really about what you put your attention on to, including yourself. We hold certain characteristics to ourselves and we accept them as true. And that's sort of like putting attention on subconsciously. We allow something to be inherent to our character in a way that we act upon it without even knowing at most times. We don't recognize that a lot of who we are is stuff that we have been taught because we've been taught either so long ago or we've accepted it as true of who we are. And I think we do come with certain qualities, but I think there's nothing within us that is unable to change in a way, or at least if we are present enough to do so. I think it's always about the opportunities that we give ourselves to actually exhibit our own change and to actually, continue to explore, continue to open ourselves up to what currently is. And I think I'm in an interesting position right now because, the future's looming. There's a lot on the way, and I don't mean that in a small way. I mean there's truly a lot on the way, and part of recognizing that there's more beauty to be experienced is not in trying to live in the future. I find that doesn't really do much for us but dampen our present. I think it's always about appreciating the present and all it currently contains. In that way, when we do reach that future we have yet to occupy, we can truly be appreciative of it. We can be appreciative of all the things that sort of acted as stepping stones and invisible steps to our own acquisition. And in learning to love ourselves via those invisible steps, via our appreciation in the present, we sort of don't really need to vest ourselves in the future. I'm not saying we don't need to think about what we want to do, but we don't need to vest ourselves. We don't need to base our value off of things that have yet to occur. Instead, we can be valued beyond them, valued beyond our own superstitions and our own perceptions of circumstances. And instead, we can start to really be who we are and allow ourselves to occupy the moment fully. I think that's all it is. And returning to a sort of state that allows us to be appreciative of all that comes. I think sometimes we get in the habit of taking life too seriously. Not to say that life isn't finite or life isn't fragile, or not to say anything like that, but to say we tend to live in ideas more than the actual world. Our own idea of our own fear, our own feeling and thoughts about worry and how this can go wrong. And typically, the things that can go wrong are not really in reference to our life and fragility, but our ego's fragility, our ego's inability to go out there and get hurt. But the second we let go of the ego is the second we don't really get hurt. The second we do things in reference to our own wants and desires and learn to value ourselves regardless of outcome, is the second our ego won't really be that driving factor and limiting factor in whatever we want to do. Because it won't be about that. It'll be about you experiencing your life. And I think that's the most intimate thing. We never had to have a million reasons to do something. You never had to have a specific career path set out in order to look into the things that you're actually interested in order to actually explore and research and look up. We live in a time where a lot of information really just sits at the tip of our fingers. And I'm truly grateful that I have been able to sort of find stuff that I'm interested in and just pursue it, and just find love for the little things in life, because that's what it is really about. I think all in all, we are a lot of individuals. I think sometimes we get caught up in our own individuality and you know, separating ourselves from others, separating ourselves from our ability to like sort of the same things, or our ability to just, you know, like what we like regardless of what other people feel. And of course, more moral standards and stuff to that, of course, with a grain of salt. But I think that's what truly breeds intimacy, is a life not lived in reference, and a life not lived in fear of the reference that we often place. I think that's what allows us to keep going, what allows us to continue to sort of be happy in the endeavor, is recognizing that there's more happiness to be seen. There's more of yourself to be explored. There's more of yourself to be found. And it's never found in the future. It's always found in the present. It's always about allowing more of yourself to sort of occupy what is right now. And in our times of stress and anxiety, in our times where we feel like some sort of disconnection with the moment, it's about understanding that we can be reestablished where we are. We don't have to wait for a certain amount of time to pass or a certain amount of conditions to be met in order to affirm ourselves new, in order to affirm ourselves for who we are, in order to open the door to our own prosperity, open the door to our own love and success. Because success over the self is never in reference to accolades, but in reference to how much you can value yourself beyond them, how much we can love ourselves void of what we do, and how much we can sort of work in our own favor, not only in our actions, but in our thoughts as well. I think that we are really experiencing a lot of our thoughts. And sometimes when we project a lot of doubt and negativity into the world we inhabit, we tend to experience that doubt and negativity. The things that we are feeling iffy about, the things that we're worried about, tend to go towards and tend towards that worry if we constantly focus on that. I think we're constantly attracting what we are. And I think if we aren't being cognizant, if we're not keeping watch of our mind and being careful what we're consuming, then a lot of our life will be created without our knowing. And I think that's the point, is to be present enough to create the life that you actually want to experience. And I've experienced this a little bit recently in actually tending my mind towards the things that I want to occur rather than the things that I don't. Instead of focusing on and worrying, focusing on believing. Focusing on actually instilling and investing certain amounts of belief and faith and intimacy and love and affection within the things that I actually occupy. And that way they'll be there. That affection, that intimacy, that thing, that feeling that I'm craving will be there as soon as I allow it to be. Because the second we don't make it solely about how things look currently, is the second we bridge the gap between the unknown and the known. is the second we actually are allowed to bring new things into the moment because we have become new in the moment. We are the new thing that always enters the moment. We are the potential that we reach. It's never in reference to outside things, always in reference to our internal reactions to them, always in reference to our internal reaction to ourselves, first and foremost. And I think that's what we sort of should be tending ourselves towards. Like, I don't necessarily know what exactly I'm going to do in terms of the specific application, but I never really think the application is the part that we need to focus on. I think the understanding and understanding is the most important. Once we're able to understand something, the integration happens as soon as we're present enough to be there. I'm exploring my potentials right now. Giving yourself a certain feeling of newness, of opportunity, of recognizing that pretty much anything that you want is always at your fingertips. And when I say at your fingertips, I don't mean just out of reach. I mean already in our possessions, already right here, already validated. You can give yourself validation for whatever you want to bring into your life. And it doesn't have to be in reference to the thing seen. And what I mean by that is we don't have to be happy in reference to anything. You don't have to be grateful in reference to all the other things people are grateful for. You don't have to dampen anything in your life and your experience in reference to things that aren't. Because it's your life and your experience. And how you view it is your experience. And you have a choice. I think that's a beautiful realization I'm coming to recently is you can look at life any way that you want. And of course, we've been inclined and taught to look at life in a certain way that makes us feel limited. But the second we give ourselves the presence enough to do so, we can break through those barriers that we have placed in the past. Because all it really is about is doing your best and pouring yourself into the moment as much as you can. And that's all you can do. So why not affirm yourself as much as you can for all that you can? Simple as that. If we're doing what we can with what we have, then what else is there for us? I think sometimes our mind sits and wait for more things for us to do, more things to affirm ourselves by, more things, more accolades, more this, more that. When is the more going to be enough? If not by our own decision, if not by our own decree. So we really just have to make that decision for ourselves and recognize that our potential is really already here. You can become exactly who you want to be, and there's no time on that. It just takes as long as it takes for you to accept that you're new. All that to say, thank you, keep being all, keep being great. Take care of yourself, do what you can, what you have. A lot on the way, a lot already here. Ebook hardcover, Black Friday sale. Coming up, coming soon. One more thing. I'm not going to show y'all this time. Thank you. And